Alright everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. And we're going to go back a little bit, a couple years ago, and just look at a couple different things I want to talk about here that tie into this whole DEI movement in video games and how DEI is ruining modern video games. And, I mean, absolutely decimating their sales, causing all kinds of backlash, etc., etc. Let's cue up the music and we'll get right into it. All right, first off, we're going to go back to, what is it, Scientific America, or American, something like that. Video game players avoid gay characters. This is from 2022, just 2 years ago. And a study of gamer behaviors find they shy away from gay characters regardless of their strengths. So, DEI, for those of you who've been living under a rock, stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, or didn't earn it, as I like to put it. But what that means is, there are companies out there that actually work as consultants for video game developers, and they work as DEI consultants. They want to make sure that everybody is represented fairly in games. And by everybody, I mean everybody. It's getting to a ridiculous point right now. I mean, it's been happening in movies and TV for years. I just saw a recent depiction of King Edward on a movie or a TV show where he was a gay, black, disabled man. King Edward. I mean, can you check off any more boxes than that? That was absolutely beyond the pale as far as stupid goes. And, you know, we saw the backlash of Cleopatra a couple years ago for Netflix when they made that Cleopatra television show that I think Jada Pinkett Smith was involved in, and they made her black as a woodchuck's asshole. And it was absolutely insane what they're doing these days. Just a few days ago, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, released their second season, I believe it was, with Mrs. Freeze on it, the gender-swapped Mr. Freeze that was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movies. And they made her a lesbian and gave her all kinds of cringy Pride outfit options that you can buy or whatever, maybe earn and win. I don't know. I don't care. It just looks like absolute crap. There's a game that's in the crapper. Another recent game, Flintlock, in the crapper. That was Sweet Baby Inc., I believe, was involved in that one. Concord from Sony, the 5v5 shooter, full of weird-looking, gross, fat, goofy, stupid characters with pronouns. Yeah, that's in there. It's been failure after failure after failure lately. But let's look at maybe some of the root causes of why these games fail. And this study is kind of interesting here. So the author writes, I like video games because they give me choices that I don't have in real life. When I want to feel like a princess, I choose Peach in Mario Kart. If I want to fight like Bruce Lee, I can choose martial law in Tekken. When picking out video games, or picking out a character to play in a game, players factor in an avatar's strengths and weaknesses and even their appearance, but players also make their choices based on attributes that aren't apparent during gameplay and have no influence on the game, such as a character's sexuality. And my research has found that other players in turn might treat those characters differently within the game. This is important for the gaming industry. Some companies actively support social movements through publicity and marketing campaigns and product labeling. However, backlash could deter these companies from supporting marginalized groups and discourage gay players from participating. Well, it's kind of funny because it's like the opposite's going on right now, right? They're promoting all this kind of stuff, and they're actually getting backlash from just regular old normal players, normal players. And by normal, I mean non-LGBT. And let's face it, those are normal people. LGBT is an aberration of the natural order. So, say what you will about it. I'm not trying to be facetious or nasty, but when I refer to normal people, I mean heterosexual people. So, in any case, how do players factor in these kind of traits, and what are the implications for online harassment and discrimination? The first-person shooter game Overwatch, which is widely popular and has generated more than $1 billion in revenue so far for its owner, remember this was a couple years ago, Blizzard, has turned out to be an ideal laboratory for me and my colleagues to investigate these questions. In that sense, what happens within Overwatch has economic and societal implications. In Overwatch, players can choose between 32 avatars that have different appearances and skill sets. As an additional marketing highlight, Blizzard regularly updates the background stories of these characters. Their stories have no effect whatsoever on the game. They don't change the character's skills or their appearance. Still, these stories are so important for the fan base that they influence Overwatch in another way. In March 2019, an Overwatch writer updated the background story for one male character, Soldier 76. He wrote that Soldier 76 had been in a romantic relationship with another man and identified as gay. It was a bit of information that is far from unusual in the real world, but in online gaming, it was somewhat revolutionary. Now, the announcement resulted in hundreds of responses on Twitter and other social media channels. Many players supported the announcement and liked the tweet, but some players were uncomfortable with the decision, accusing Blizzard of making money through political correctness, complaining that the announcement was unnecessary, and even threatening to stop playing Overwatch. And this is a real thing, and I want to talk about kind of this whole movement to push LGBT into every single video game, okay? And we'll talk about that between these two stories and so forth, because I have some ideas that might work. I don't know. I'm not just here screaming into the universe or into the abyss, but I think about this kind of stuff, and I'm like, well, how could we make all this work? But anyway, back to the story. Our research team wanted to know if this announcement influenced the game itself. Would players change their attitude towards Soldier 76? We examined the pick rate, the frequency which players chose a specific character before, during, and after the announcement. Surprisingly, we found an extreme drop in the pick rate for Soldier 76 after the news. Players shied away from playing with the newly outed character. That's a shocker. Interestingly, instead of choosing Soldier 76, several players chose the only other LGBT character in the game, a lesbian called Tracer. Though Soldier 76 had previously been assumed by most to be straight, Tracer had been openly gay since the game was published. Well, let's face it, the guys look at lesbians a little bit different than we look at gay guys. And we're going to another study we're going to talk about regarding that. It's not such a visceral response. And it is a visceral response for straight men. When we see like two men kiss or two men together, there is a disgust factor to it. And, again, I'm not being mean. I'm not trying to talk down or anything or shame anybody. But this is a natural reaction to a straight guy. It's gross. You don't want to see it, and it's bad. So when you put it in video games, it's no wonder there's going to be some kind of pushback. Now, I don't know the extent to which they went into detail for Soldier 76. If there was pictures of him with another dude, just arms around each other, whatever. I don't know. I don't really care. I get tired of that kind of stuff in games, and apparently I'm not the only one. Now, to understand what was going on, they used an online survey to ask players what they thought about the announcement and how it influenced their gaming experience. Hundreds of players responded. Most respondents were men, 83.77%, and from North America, half of them, and Europe, 40% of them. The majority had heard about Soldier 76 being gay but didn't care. They reported that changing a character's sexuality had no influence on the game. A large minority, however, felt uncomfortable and that other players discriminated against them when they played as Soldier 76 after the announcement. They got tired of the homophobic slurs and constant harassment and temporarily switched to other characters to avoid it. Well, I'll tell you, if, my little group that we play here on Ark and stuff like that, if we played a game that you had different heroes to choose from and somebody chose the gay character, we would tease them. I mean, that's the way men are. It's been that way since we were kids, And we're all roughly in the same age range. There might be a 20-year span between the youngest and the oldest of us from that group. Maybe tops, maybe a little less, 15. I'm not 100% sure. I never really asked for everybody's ages, but it's kind of funny. If somebody chose that, we'd be like, oh, dude, yeah, that figures you picked that one. Blah, blah, blah. Hope you're out of the closet, And that's just the way it goes, man. And it's not being... it's not being evil, and it's not being homophobic or anything like that. It's busting your friends' balls. And that's what guys do. We bust each other's balls all the time. To this day, we call each other gay. Straight guys as a joke. And it's not being disparaging toward gay people. It's just busting your friends' balls, That's the way it is. Anyway, additionally, many players mentioned that the gaming community makes an important distinction between the only two LGBT characters in the game. Whereas Soldier 76 is a man, Tracer is a woman. Some players reported in the survey that they felt other players see lesbians as appealing and interesting, but that the same player's voice discussed towards gay men. And I can see that. It's going to depend on the character design. Now, if we're going with Mrs. Freeze and that big Chumbawamba from Concord, yeah, there's no interest in those two. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to see what happens between those two. Ugh, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. But for the most part, you know, it is going to be a little more accepting towards lesbians than it would be to gay men. But detecting discrimination is important, and it sheds light on a problem. The next step, however, is to find a way to decrease discrimination. In another research project, my team worked with a soccer federation trying to decrease discrimination. In a randomized trial, we found that an email to coaches about how the sport can promote inclusivity and reduce racism helped raise awareness. We hope to do the same in esports by working together with people from within the industry who want to improve the equity and inclusivity of the community. Anyway, so we'll just finish this off then. Some people like to imagine video games offer idealized versions of reality and teach values that seem to be lacking in the real world, such as fighting for a common cause or working together as a team. But our findings show that the world of video games has the same biases and discrimination we find in our everyday lives, and the games can be much more welcoming for some than others. Video games are always innovating, pushing art and technology forward to create new experiences for players. In the past, players and fans have adapted to this fast-changing environment. The online gaming community needs to embrace its diverse players and reckon with its biases. Players should get over themselves and accept all characters and players who pick them. Well, you know, it is what it is. If you are going to be playing games online, you're going to be exposed to people from all over the world. Cornell, Nestler, whoever you are. And as a person that's going to do that, you need to be aware that there's going to be biases, especially if you play as a gay character and stuff like that. People are going to give you a hard time. It's going to happen. It's the natural order of things. It's the way it is. You may not like it. You may want to strive for inclusivity and all that, but the more you push and the harder you push for acceptance and celebration, especially the celebration part, I have no problem accepting. If I work with gay people and I have friends that are gay, never once do I treat them poorly because of what they are. Okay? Never once. That is not a thing I do because it's not my business. I don't care. You know, what you do in your own time is great. Now, if they came to work and they tried to, force me to celebrate, like, hey, it's Pride Month, why aren't you wearing an ally shirt, whatever, I'd be like, no, I'm your friend, I'm not your ally, bro. It's we draw the line there. I'm not going to wear an ally pin, I'm not going to do any of that, I'm not going with you to the parade, I'm not celebrating, your choice and all that. You don't need to celebrate my straightness, I'm not celebrating your gayness. It's just stupid to think that your sexuality is that important. So, but like in video games, people are tired of it. We see it all the time. You'll see every game has these, during Pride Month, they're going to have these special Pride skins. We saw the transsexual bullets in, was it COD during Pride Month, so you could reenact some of those horrible crimes that those trans people committed this year when they shot up places, or last year, whatever. We saw in Fallout 76, you had flag avatar thing in Pacific Drive, a game that takes place in the 90s. There's a whole bunch of stickers for the car that are like 20 different pride flags and a Black Lives Matter flag. I mean, it's gotten to a point of ridiculousness. If it's part of the game and it fits in the game, fine, whatever. You know what I mean? Like the upcoming GTA 6 is going to be taking place in the equivalent of Miami. So I expect to see some weird shit going on there and all that, and it wouldn't shock me. It was like seeing the rainbow crosswalk in Dead Island 2 on Venice Beach. Yeah, it's there, but to me, it didn't feel like it was a forced thing or a message or anything. It just felt like, yeah, that's something you would see there in California, man. It fit in naturally, and that's that. So, you can do things naturally and organically. You can put them in there properly, and it's fine. But it's when you start forcing it that it gets really annoying. And as far as this whole movement for LGBT in every game, why not just make it an option in a game? Something you can opt in if you want it. And that would solve a lot of problems. I mean, a couple of things you could do. You could make games that are LGBT focused. Say, this is a game for LGBT people. And then you'll sell 10,000 copies. Okay? Because there's no audience for it. I get it. You can't make a AAA game and market it to the LGBT crowd because it will never make money back. It's like making movies for the LGBT crowd, like that Abomination Bros that came out a couple years back and just crapped the bed and didn't make any money because nobody went to see it. Even gay guys didn't go see it. Like, nobody went to see it. You ever go to theaters, crickets in it, from what I understood. And what a mess that was. You know, we look at The Acolyte, the latest Star Wars iteration from Disney Plus on their garbage platform, and what a shit show that is, and how horrible that was received with the black space witches, lesbian witches, or something like that. I don't know. I won't watch these things, and I won't play the games. I'll be straight with you. I'm not the guy that's going to watch it just so I can bitch about it. It's not getting my money, because if I watch it, or I buy the game to play it and then bitch about it, I have given them my money, and thus have taken away my protest. My protest is my wallet. If I don't want to do something, I will not pay for it. I will not support it that way. And boom, that's just the way it is. You know, I wouldn't take the pride flag in Fallout 76 when it was available in the store for free. I never claimed it. I was like, you know what? I'm not claiming it. It's free, and it's annoying because it would always pop up every time. You know, hey, you can claim this for free. And it's like, well, I don't want to claim it. You know, I don't know if they track that metric or something. Like, we have X amount of players and Y amount of players that took this flag. You know, so if they see, well, not a really big percentage did, maybe, you know, we don't need to keep doing that sort of thing. But whatever. That's just, you talk with your wallet, basically. Now, on to the second thing I want to talk about. This is from 2017 SciPost. And it says, straight men's psychological stress response to seeing two men kissing is the same as seeing maggots. Now, this is funny in a way, but it's also gross, you know? And this is how it feels to see that. And this is why there's such a pushback against all of this LGBT nonsense. When it, you know, if it was done in the privacy of your own home, or, you know, a couple on the street, you know, that's fine. They want to give a kiss. Yeah, you turn your head away and be like, you know, whatever, gross. But when it's in every movie and every television show and every video game, and it's almost like they're trying to desensitize you to this and make it acceptable to you and normalize it. And that's exactly what they're trying to do, actually. They're trying to normalize it, and that way they can indoctrinate more people into that lifestyle. For whatever reason they want to do it. I don't know why. It's, you know, but whatever. In heterosexual men, pictures of rotting flesh, maggots, and spoiled food induce the same physiological stress response as pictures of two men kissing each other. That is the surprising finding that was recently published in the peer-reviewed scientific journal, Psychology and Sexuality. But is it really surprising? I mean, talk to any dude, you know, show them that, and they're like, you know, it's not pleasant. We originally were interested in the understanding the health effects of same-sex versus mixed-sex public displays of affection for couples in a relationship, explained the study's corresponding author, Karen L. Blair of St. Francis Xavier University. However, one of the factors likely to influence how individuals experience PDAs is the reaction that other people have to witnessing PDAs. Consequently, we decided to begin the research by examining whether or not heterosexuals have negative responses to witnessing same-sex PDAs. In particular, we began by examining heterosexual male responses to male same-sex public displays of affection. Participants watched a series of slideshows: male couples kissing, male couples holding hands, mixed-sex couples kissing, holding hands, boring images, e.g. paper clips, and disgusting images, maggots. Blair explained, in between slideshows, we asked participants questions about their responses to the photos, not yet published, and we also collected saliva samples in order to assess the salivary alpha amylase in response to each slideshow. Measuring levels of salivary alpha amylase, a digestive enzyme that is associated with stress and is especially responsive in disgust, allowed the researchers to examine the men's physiological reaction to the photos. The study was based on results from 120 heterosexual men aged 18 to 45. In comparing the salivary responses of participants to the various slideshows, we found that participants had higher salivary responses to the images of two men kissing and the disgusting images. In both cases, these responses were significantly different from the responses they had from the neutral stimuli. And then he warned, it's difficult to interpret the findings at this stage, and yada yada. I'm going to link both of these articles down below. There's a lot to this one too. It's a very interesting read. But maybe we need to kind of back it up a little bit in gaming and start pulling back on all this LGBT stuff, because it is driving people away. You know, it's destroying games that would normally maybe do better, you know? Maybe if we didn't spend so much time and money on DEI and spending money on these consulting firms to get their opinions and make sure we have enough dudes and flags on, you know, and flags in games, and black people and lesbians and all that. Maybe, you know, if we just made good games and focused on that, we'd have better sales and the industry wouldn't be suffering like it is. Because it's suffering right now. There's layoffs every week. We hear of a new layoff, or 2 or 3. Thousands of people have lost their jobs so far this year. Some very much deservingly, I believe. You know, if you're out there supporting this kind of stuff and you're out there pushing this kind of stuff, and when I say pushing, they push it on you hard. They want you to have to see this stuff because they know it. They know it grosses you out. They know it. If they know it's offensive, and I don't mean offensive in a pearl clutching way. I mean offensive in a looking at a picture of maggots kind of way. You know, we don't want it. We don't want to see it. Don't put it in our games. Make it an option if you want. If you want to take an IP and put that kind of stuff in it, why not make it an option? There's options for people that are colorblind. There's even options for people that have arachnophobia to make the spiders less scary. Why not make an option for, you know, LGBT in there? Say, hey, you know, I'm an ally. You know, have it like three levels of it, right? Okay, I'm just straight guy. I'm an ally. And then, no, I'm full on LGBT, and tailor the game's experience to those 3 things, you know? Let it open up those romance options that normally wouldn't be open to just a straight guy, you know, and that sort of thing. Whatever. But take it out of the mainline games, because it's only hurting games, and it's only creating backlash, and it's only creating animosity against LGBT, the people who push this kind of stuff, the developers and the so-called journalists that support it. You see how they get ragged on every time something like this comes out, and then they push back and they scream and they, you know, it's absolutely pathetic. You know, it's high time maybe to take the LGBT out of games to some degree, and just let games be games. Let people play games. Give them what they want. Nobody wants all that, and we see 2 reasons why here. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are down below. When you see 2 men kissing, if you're a heterosexual guy, does it gross you out, or are you like, ooh, yeah, I like that, you know? If you're kind of grossed out by it, leave a thumbs up on the video down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to ring that bell for notifications. I will see you guys next time. Until then, peace.